I went and did something I said I'd never do. I watched a live-action Lion King movie. Welcome to Movie World Plus, the place where we talk movies. I'm Andy Signore, and yep, I saw Mufasa. Now, I justified it like this. I don't want to ever really fully watch the Lion King live-action movie. I've seen clips on YouTube. It looks horrific, the lack of emoting and the animals. I just don't get why it was done. However, I justified this is because I was like, well, Barry Jenkins is directing a prequel. At least this is like its own original story. And I will say, based on the clips I've seen of the original, they at least had the animals emote a bit better, that it was not as jarring. This was definitely better in a way because it is its own original story. At the same time, it's still completely unnecessary. This is a hero's journey of gathering all the collecting figures of the original Lion King, but not the good cartoon versions, the annoying live action ones. And the music by Lin-Manuel Miranda is catchy at times, but overall just feels out of place and not nearly as good as the original. And it's funny because he did some press where he's like, oh yeah, the music's really great. I had to make, the original soundtrack's all bangers. So I made sure this one had them all too. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know what banger you're talking about. There's a couple catchy ones, but none of them like stayed with me after. I did go and listen to the soundtrack just to sort of really research, like, am I missing something? And there's like the brother song is a little bit catchy. And Mads Mikkelsen's The Villain, sort of Be Prepared, instead it's called Bye Bye, is like interesting. It's like, it is catchy, but is it Lion King? No. Is any of this feel like Lion King? No. Lin-Manuel Miranda should have absolutely done Moana 2. I know it wasn't really his fault, the way they fast-tracked Moana 2, as he already agreed to Mufasa. I think it was a big mistake for him to not help Moana 2 have better music and instead try to mimic the Elton John, Tim Rice, Alan Menken score of Lion King. It's not the same. It feels like Lin-Manuel Miranda trying to make Mufasa work, and this whole thing just feels like a lot of pieces in play to blend another billion-dollar movie, because the first one did so well. How do we tap in and make more money is sadly more of what I thought throughout this film than anything emotional. When I saw this trailer, I was like, all right, this is interesting. The whole idea of the film is Mufasa as a child, similar to Simba, separated from his family, meets this other guy, this other cub, I've already forgot, Taka, and they become brothers immediately, and they're running around sort of supporting, but the pride doesn't support Mufasa because he's a stray, and the male lions have to lay around and just, do their thing, while the females go out and hunt. And so the mother takes Mufasa in and teaches him the ways of hunting and praying. And ultimately that makes Mufasa even better, well-rounded, because he knows how to hunt and do all this stuff. And as Taka is scheduled to be the king officially, clearly Mufasa's talents help to create this sort of beginning of jealousy and conflicts, etc., that, build the eventual turn when we realize, oh, this is his brother Scar. Now, they go on a journey. I won't spoil why they go on this journey. It is sort of triggered by Kimba the White Lion, who's not Kimba the White Lion, but just ironic. They decided to throw some white lions in this. But this lion, played by Mads Mikkelsen, is like, the bad in the movie. And a scary bad guy. Definitely does their best. Mads does a good voice. And Mufasa, I keep trying to say Simba, Mufasa, is trying to prove himself and stand up to unite against this clan of evil lions that are trying to take over the Pride Lands. Along the way, he meets the mom from Lion King. I already forgot her name, and even from the cartoon, who's obviously a bigger role in this one. Scar and Rafiki gets a bigger role as they all sort of, and the bird, Zazu. They all, gather along as he's almost like we're collecting Lion King action figures as we go to sort of get to the Pride Lands is what the movie is ultimately about. They call it something else. It's literally a song, and I've forgotten it. A lot of this movie is just forgettable. At the same time, I wasn't like offended as much as I thought. Like, there's some drama happening. Barry Jenkins is doing his best to keep the drama going of this sort of brother betrayal. But it still pales in comparison to the original Lion King. It's retracing a ton of the steps. And I'm still sort of stuck in this weird live action adaptation that, again, just doesn't feel necessary. Barry Jenkins, the film's director, has already sort of said, yeah, I'm never going to do something like this again, like on the press tour for Mufasa. So you can sort of tell, like, yeah, he took the money. He thought it was an interesting script, and clearly he's trying to, wants to get all this experience in. But I just sense all parties involved knew what this was, which was a cash grab. Now, the other interesting part about the movie is Timon and Pumbaa are back. Billy Eichner, Seth Rogen doing their best. And to be fair, there are a few moments in their interstitials that were funny. I did laugh a couple times at some of their shtick. It's definitely no, Nathan Lane and Uri Sabala, but it's close. And they enter these scenes that at first I thought was clever to sort of bookend, but they stop some of the drama to keep going back and I guess keep the kids entertained, because little kids who go see this movie are definitely going to start getting bored during all the lion drama. So they decided to sort of pad the running time out by cutting back and forth to Timon and Pumbaa, along with Blue Ivy Carter, who is the voice of Simba's youngest, to hear the story from Rafiki. That's ultimately what this movie is a story of how Mufasa, became Mufasa. And look, I didn't hate this movie like I thought I would. I didn't hate this movie as much as I hated Kraven the Hunter, I will say. At the same time, I dislike this movie because it does feel like a blatant cash grab. At the same time, I do feel like Barry Jenkins and others involved, the technology here does look good. Like, they're doing a good job creating realistic environments and creatures and snow and fur. Like, it all looks really good. But it just still doesn't feel like The Lion King to me. None of it really does. The music, the vibe, all of it still feels like a pale imitation, but there's still moments throughout the film where you hear the original score and then you suddenly are like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted. Those Memba berries keep popping in to sort of, remind you, we're in The Lion King, don't forget. Yeah, no, don't confuse, this isn't Simba, this is Mufasa. But it never ultimately works. It never ultimately works for me as full. I wasn't bored during it, which surprised me. So that's kind of like but again, after I slept on it the next day, I don't remember much at all. It's not something that stuck with me, and it's not something that made me emotional. And honestly, I thought it might, because the trailer was pretty good as they're setting up this tone of like, oh man, they're brothers, they got along. This is going to be such a betrayal. And honestly, the betrayal's pretty lazy and didn't work for me. The name Scar, again, lazy, didn't work for me. It all feels very rushed at the end because the filmmakers are trying to create this conflict. And I feel like it never really finds itself. And the character motivations to get you where you need to get to just didn't really work for me. They're there, but they felt a little lazy. And ultimately, that's what this film is. I am hoping, and I'd much prefer someone actually take AI or whatever and just turn this movie into a two-dimensional / there was some 3D animation in Lion King. It was back in 94. They started introducing more of it. Some of those out of focus shots look so good in the cartoon. The cartoon holds up. And I wish they would have just made this as a live action cartoon and like a throwback instead of this constant need to make everything look realistic and CGI. I don't know. It takes me out of it. I look at a film like the Wild Robot, which again looks realistic, but still also feels like a cartoon, like a realistic cartoon in a strange way. The animal characters feel more lifelike. It works better. There's a style to it rather than just trying to look like a National Geographic movie with talking animals. I just think creatively it was always a bad call. These live action remakes don't work with the animals when they look exactly like animals. The Little Mermaid, Sebastian and Flounder are horrific characters. I don't get it. I don't get the choices at Disney. It makes no sense. Sure, it's making some money, but I don't believe these remakes are going to stand the test of time. They're not like the animated counterparts. They won't. And that's the big problem I have with these movies, and still with this experience, while not as offensive because at least they were trying to do its own thing. And at times it's, exciting and has some funny parts and some toe tapping music. None of it stayed with me beyond the next day. And ultimately that deems it a failure because Lion King has stayed with me now for decades. And that's a test to the animation, the story, the music, and all the talent and the voices. Again, the voices in this, all very generic. Nothing really excels past a very low bar that they just barely cleared. because my expectations were so far down low. But will this make $1 bazillion? Yes. Will families go see it in droves? Yes. Honestly, you should go see Wicked instead. And I'm more excited for Sonic, which I'm wearing my Jim Carrey t-shirt for because I'm going to be seeing that tonight. We'll be dropping a review for you tomorrow. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, and smash that like button. What do you think? Did you see the original Lion King remake? Are you excited for this one? Were you avoiding it like me? Does this pique your interest a little bit more? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And thank you, as always, for watching.